Welcome back, everybody. My name is Stephen Howson, and this is 5 things that we learned watching United crash out of the Champions League last night. United have been riding our luck lately, coming behind so many times, and even though it's a pretty good trait to be a team that never gives up and never knows when it's beaten, and it was a trait of the great teams that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer played in, ultimately you're going to get your comeuppance. Ultimately, you're going to find out one day someone's going to turn you over. One day, someone's going to be able to prevent you from scoring. Someday, it's all going to go tits up. And that was last night, and that was Leipzig. United conceded after just 90 seconds. Compounded not long after that to give a horrendous first 20 minutes. And I'm sure that wasn't what Ollie sent the lads out with the intention to do. I'm pretty sure it would have been the exact opposite. But it was always going to happen when we are having these slow starts to games. It was always going to happen when we're finding ourselves coming out and giving the opposition the chance to get into the game before we really start turning up and playing. Now, it was a fast goal to concede, and it was actually the earliest goal United have conceded in the Champions League since 2012. It leaked into the second half as well, though, and it was only when United was handed, admittedly, a pretty cheap penalty with 10 minutes to go when the resurgence really started to kick in for United. Unfortunately, all told, it wasn't a performance of a team that was battling to stay in the Champions League. It was poor from the first minute, and it ended poor. And even the last 5 minutes, when the opportunity was there for us to score a goal, we may well have done it, but it didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like we were ever going to do it. And if we'd have done it, we would count ourselves very fortunate. But ultimately, I think it was probably the fairest result that Leipzig went through. Number 2, selection and substitutions. There's undoubtedly calls for Solskjaer to go after that poor result last night, and I think that there's some things you can lay blame to Ollie and some things that you can't. Last night, the team selection and arguably the team formation were 2 of those things that you could lay blame with Ollie last night. He got it wrong. He got it wrong on arguably the biggest night of our season so far. Now, it's set in stone. Aaron Wan-Bissaka just isn't a right wing back. I think he may have actually been more effective as the right side centre half of a more attacking fullback or wing back in front of him. But the way he was lost for Angelino's opener was bad. He needed to do a lot better than that. He was just literally twisted up by him, didn't track him, didn't even know he was there really. And you've got a question, ultimately, you have to. And I know a lot of people in the comments are just saying, well, I don't think it makes any sort of impact. Well, Rio Ferdinand and Paul Scholes had a disagreement on that fact last night. Scholes didn't think it should do, and Rio seemed to think it would have done. They might have been enough for Pogba to be taken out of the team if he was in it. I wonder if you could lay that first 20 minutes of looking unprepared on the fact that we were unprepared because the plan might have changed while we were on the plane over to Germany. No, I don't know that for a fact, and I'm not sure we'll ever know that for a fact. The midfield of McTominay and Matic made it seem like United was playing for a draw, or at least playing to keep it tight and maybe try and change the game a little bit later on. Maybe that was the plan. But after 90 seconds, United's inability to move the ball into midfield and Leipzig's very effective mid-block, which totally cut off the passing lanes into midfield for us, United was struggling. Donny van der Beek or Pogba represented a much more appealing option. Solskjaer's substitutions following those weren't much better. Taking off Telles didn't make a lot of sense at the time, made even less sense when Brandon Williams then was taken on for that substitute that you'd left on. It was a night of bad decisions on and off the pitch, and I think ultimately that's what cost us. Fernandes is a level above. Now, an overwhelming positive from a bad day at the office is the case that more often than not, Bruno Fernandes turns up. Never is the excuse that he needs better players around him. Never is the excuse that he had an off day. Never is the excuse that he needed this, that and the other. No matter the situation, no matter the circumstance, no matter the opposition, no matter the stadium, Bruno Fernandes turns up and delivers. He calmly slotted home another penalty and provided the assist for Pogba's header minutes later with a great delivery towards the back post. 73% pass accuracy, which is a little bit less than you would probably want from a midfielder, but considering this is a guy that's generally the one that's making things happen or attempting to make things happen, it's acceptable. He was fouled 6 times. He created 4 chances, won all 3 of the tackles that he attempted on top of his goal contribution. He's now been directly involved in 16 goals in 16 games in the Premier League and Champions League this season with 11 goals and 5 assists. And is likely going to play another important role in the Europa League should he be played. And I think he probably will be played, as much as I'd like to rest him. 3 familiar goals. Leipzig's 2 first goals were sickeningly familiar. Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw were caught out for really poor positional awareness as the opening 2 strikes came from crosses towards the back post. United have struggled with crosses this season, especially ones that have gone across the box, and arguably throughout the whole of Solskjaer's tenure. Last season's Europa League semi-final loss to Sevilla, another example of when that happened. Leipzig first was a mixture of shambolic defending and an absolute cowardice, I think, from David De Gea. It was such a cheap shit goal to concede. Ultimately, it was the goal that dumped United out of the Champions League. It feels to me that this is a very coachable weakness. It feels to me that United concede sloppy goals that are preventable. Annoyingly, the team I coach suffer from the same sort of thing. Crosses and set pieces. The fix for it, it's got to be someone who's good in the air. It's got to be a proper organiser and leader, and I don't think Lindelof and Maguire, for whatever you paid for him, are those centre-halves. United need a proper centre-back that's going to get his head on things and he's going to lead and tell the rest of them what they do. Maguire ain't that guy. And number 5, return of the Europa. More annoying than the fact that United have lost out on the opportunity to test ourselves against Europe's best. More annoying than the fact that even though we've been off the races at times this season, over a 2-legged game, we go through against Leipzig after the result we got at home. I back United to go through against virtually anyone. We've put away the semi-finalists and finalists of last season's competition. United could have gone far. Not saying we would have deserved to have gone far or that we're one of the best 4 or 5 teams in the competition. But the nature of a cup competition and the nature of the way Ole plays, United probably would have exceeded expectations once we got into the knockout stages. And I know that feels weird saying now on the back end of a defeat, but it's true. Now we go into the Europa League. The return of the Thursday-Sunday routine is minging. It's horrible. It's not welcome by anybody. It's minging. You've got the extra round. You've got the extra route through. You've now got all of our games being on a Sunday. This has a big effect. It's not good. United are one of the best third-place teams coming out of the Champions League, which means that we do get seeded in the round of 32, which takes place next Monday. But we're back in this shit competition. And it's where we deserve to be. But it's not welcome by anybody, is it? Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're not. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. It does help with all sorts of stuff here on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters.